Day 16 in the month of October. Reading from the book of Proverbs chapter 16 verse 1 to 33. New King James Version. Wisdom is better than gold. The 16th chapter of Proverbs speaks to the supremacy of God's wisdom over human plans and actions. It touches on themes like humility, righteousness, justice, and the importance of trusting in God rather than in wealth or human wisdom. Each verse in this chapter provides practical advice on how to live wisely and in alignment with God's will. Verse 1. The preparations of the heart belong to man, but the answer of the tongue is from the Lord. Humans can make plans and set intentions, but ultimately, it is God who gives them the ability to speak with wisdom and provides the final outcomes. This verse reminds us that while we have control over our plans, God controls the results. Think about a student preparing for an exam. The student can study and prepare, but sometimes unexpected questions or scenarios arise. In those moments, it's important to trust that God will give the right words or ideas when needed. Verse 2. All the ways of a man are pure in his own eyes, but the Lord weighs the spirits. We often justify our actions, thinking we are right. However, God sees beyond appearances and knows the motives of our hearts. He judges our true intentions. Imagine someone justifying a small lie by thinking it doesn't hurt anyone. In their eyes, it's a harmless act. But God sees the underlying dishonesty and its potential to harm relationships or integrity. Verse 3. Commit your works to the Lord, and your thoughts will be established. When we dedicate our plans and efforts to God, He will guide and establish them. Trusting Him leads to clarity and success. A business owner who seeks God's guidance before making major decisions will find peace and direction. Knowing God will lead the way. Verse 4. The Lord has made all for Himself, yes, even the wicked for the day of doom. Everything and everyone serves a purpose in God's plan, even those who seem to oppose Him. God will ultimately bring justice. Consider a garden where weeds grow alongside flowers. Though the weeds seem to have no purpose, the gardener uses them to teach patience and care. Similarly, God uses even negative situations or people to fulfill His plan. Verse 5. Everyone proud in heart is an abomination to the Lord. Though they join forces, none will go unpunished. Pride is deeply offensive to God. Even if the proud gather strength in numbers, they cannot escape God's judgment. A group of people may conspire in wrongdoing, believing their collective power will protect them from consequences. However, just as no one can escape the law indefinitely, no one can escape God's judgment. Verse 6. In mercy and truth atonement is provided for iniquity, and by the fear of the Lord one departs from evil. God provides forgiveness through His mercy and truth. But it's by revering and fearing Him that people turn away from sin. Imagine a child who avoids wrongdoing because they both love and respect their parents. Similarly, our reverence for God guides us to make righteous choices. Verse 7. When a man's ways please the Lord, He makes even his enemies to be at peace with him. God grants peace and favor to those who live righteously, often transforming even hostile relationships. Think of someone who lives with integrity and kindness. Even those who may have initially disliked them often come to respect them because their actions reflect God's character. Verse 8. Better is a little with righteousness than vast revenues without justice. It is better to live a humble life with righteousness than to gain wealth through dishonest means. A person may choose a modest lifestyle working an honest job, rather than pursuing wealth through corruption. This choice brings peace and contentment, even if the income is smaller. Verse 9. A man's heart plans his way, but the Lord directs his steps. We can make our plans, but it is God who determines where we go and how things turn out. A traveler might plan their route carefully, but unexpected detours might lead them to a better destination than they could have imagined. In life, trusting God's guidance brings us to where we need to be. Verse 10. Divination is on the lips of the king, his mouth must not transgress in judgment. In ancient times, kings were considered to have the wisdom of divine authority, often acting as judges over their people. Therefore, their words carried great weight. This verse underscores the importance of righteous judgment in leadership. A king's decisions must be fair, as he is seen as an instrument of divine justice. Consider a modern-day judge presiding over a court case. The integrity of their rulings is critical because their decisions can affect lives. Just like a judge must not act unjustly, leaders today, whether in politics, business, or even the home, should make decisions based on righteousness and fairness, not personal bias. Verse 11. Honest weights and scales are the Lord's, all the weights in the bag are his work. This verse reflects the importance of honesty and fairness in all dealings, especially in commerce. In biblical times, merchants used scales to weigh goods, and some would use dishonest scales to cheat others. God detests dishonesty, and he expects fairness in every area of life. Imagine going to a market and buying produce. You trust that the vendor is using a fair scale to measure what you purchase. If the vendor cheats by using a tampered scale, you would feel wronged. Similarly, in our daily interactions, whether in business or personal relationships, we must be honest and fair in our dealings, knowing that God values integrity. Verse 12. It is an abomination for kings to commit wickedness, for a throne is established by righteousness. Leadership should be built on righteousness, and when a leader acts unjustly or wickedly, it brings dishonor to their position. A kingdom, or any leadership role, cannot stand firm if it is built on corruption or wrongdoing. A corrupt leader may gain power quickly, but their position will eventually crumble if it is not built on righteousness. Think of leaders in history who have risen to power through unjust means but whose reigns were short-lived because their foundation was weak. True leadership endures when it is based on justice and fairness. Verse 13. Righteous lips are the delight of kings, and they love him who speaks what is right. Leaders value those who speak truthfully and offer wise counsel. A person who consistently speaks with righteousness and integrity is a delight to those in authority because their words are trustworthy. Imagine being in a workplace where the boss values honesty. Employees who consistently offer truthful and insightful advice are appreciated and trusted more than those who flatter or lie. In any leadership role, whether at home, work, or church, people are drawn to those who speak the truth with wisdom. Verse 14. As messengers of death is the king's wrath, but a wise man will appease it. This verse points to the seriousness of a ruler's anger, which can bring about severe consequences. However, wisdom can diffuse the situation and calm the wrath of a leader. Think of a tense situation where a manager is angry over a major mistake. Someone wise, with the right words, can de-escalate the conflict, offering solutions and bringing peace. Wisdom in our interactions, especially in moments of conflict, can prevent disastrous outcomes. Verse 15. In the light of the king's face is life, and his favor is like a cloud of the latter rain. The favor of a ruler brings life and blessing, much like the refreshing rain that comes after a dry season. In ancient times, a ruler's approval could mean prosperity and security for their subjects. Imagine being recognized for your hard work by a superior at work. Their approval might lead to opportunities, promotions, or greater responsibility, which can refresh and invigorate your career, much like rain revitalizes the earth. pp. Verse 16. How much better to get wisdom than gold, and to get understanding is to be chosen rather than silver. Wisdom and understanding are more valuable than material wealth. While gold and silver can provide temporary comfort, wisdom brings long-lasting benefits, guiding a person through life with discernment. Think of someone who wins the lottery versus someone who invests years in gaining knowledge and wisdom. While the lottery winner may quickly spend their wealth, the wise person will have long-term success and happiness. because their wisdom helps them make sound decisions. True wealth is found in wisdom, not material riches. Verse 17. The highway of the upright is to depart from evil. He who keeps his way preserves his soul. Those who live righteously avoid evil and stay on the path that leads to life. By steering clear of wickedness, they protect themselves spiritually, emotionally, and sometimes even physically. Picture a driver who chooses the well-lit, safe road instead of a dark, dangerous shortcut. In the same way, when we choose the path of righteousness, we avoid the dangers of sin and keep our souls safe from harm. Verse 18. Pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. Pride and arrogance often lead to downfall. When we think too highly of ourselves or act without humility, we are setting ourselves up for failure. Consider a sports team that becomes overconfident in their abilities and neglects to practice. Despite their talent, their pride leads to a major loss in a game they expected to win easily. In life, humility keeps us grounded, while pride blinds us to our weaknesses and sets us up for failure. Verse 19. Better to be of a humble spirit with the lowly than to divide the spoil with the proud. It is better to be humble and associate with those who are not prideful than to gain wealth or status alongside those who are arrogant. Humility brings more peace and honor in the long run than the temporary rewards of pride. Imagine a person who chooses to work humbly with a small group of honest, hard-working people rather than joining a group of wealthy but corrupt individuals. Though the humble group may have less, they have peace of mind and integrity, which are far more valuable than ill-gotten wealth. Verse 20. He who heeds the word wisely will find good, and whoever trusts in the Lord, happy is he. Those who pay attention to wise teachings and trust in God will find goodness and happiness in life. Trusting in God leads to lasting joy, even in difficult circumstances. Think of someone who faithfully follows good financial advice and builds a stable future. Similarly, a person who follows God's word and places their trust in Him will find true fulfillment, regardless of the ups and downs of life. Verse 21. The wise in heart will be called prudent, and sweetness of the lips increases learning. Those with wisdom will be recognized as prudent or sensible, and kind words help others to learn and grow. A teacher who speaks with kindness and encouragement can inspire students to learn more effectively. In the same way, when we speak with care and compassion, we can help others absorb wisdom and truth. Verse 22. Understanding is a wellspring of life to him who has it, but the correction of fools is folly. Wisdom brings life and vitality to those who possess it, while correcting a fool is often a wasted effort because they refuse to learn. Imagine a person who seeks wisdom throughout their life. Their choices lead to peace, prosperity, and a sense of purpose, like a flowing spring that brings life to everything it touches. In contrast, trying to correct someone who is unwilling to listen only leads to frustration and folly. Verse 23. The heart of the wise teaches his mouth, and adds learning to his lips. A wise person carefully considers their words, speaking in a way that reflects learning and understanding. Wisdom governs their speech. Think of someone who listens before they speak, ensuring that their words are thoughtful and kind. Their speech reflects wisdom and understanding, because they've learned to control their tongue, speaking only what is beneficial. Verse 24. Pleasant words are like a honeycomb, sweetness to the soul and health to the bones. Kind and encouraging words bring healing and joy to those who hear them. Think about how a sincere compliment or word of encouragement can uplift someone's mood and make them feel valued. Words have the power to build people up, much like honey brings sweetness to our taste. The book of Proverbs, especially chapter 16, teaches us that wisdom is far more valuable than material wealth. True success comes from seeking God's guidance, living with integrity, and understanding the value of humility and kindness. By aligning our actions with God's will, we are blessed with peace, righteousness, and favor in all aspects of life. As this chapter emphasizes, it is far better to have wisdom and live righteously than to pursue riches at the expense of justice. Verse 25, there is a way that seems right to a man, but its end is the way of death. Sometimes our human judgment can deceive us into thinking we're on the right path when, in fact, we're headed toward destruction. God alone knows the way that leads to life. Imagine a person following an unmarked trail in the wilderness because it looks well traveled. Yet, without a map or guide, that path could lead to a dangerous cliff. Similarly, following our own understanding without seeking God's direction can lead to harm. Verse 26. The person who labors for himself, for his hungry mouth drives him on. People work hard to satisfy their basic needs, and hunger is a powerful motivator for diligence. A worker who strives daily to provide for their family understands the value of hard work. Their need for food and shelter drives them to persist, even when the work is tough. In the same way, spiritual hunger should drive us to seek God's wisdom and provision. Verse 27, an ungodly man digs up evil, and it is on his lips like a burning fire. A person without reverence for God often seeks to cause trouble and spread harmful words. Their speech can destroy relationships and peace. Think of a person who constantly gossips, stirring up conflict wherever they go. Their words can be as destructive as fire, burning bridges between friends and family. This verse warns us to guard against spreading negativity. Verse 28, a perverse man sows strife, and a whisperer separates the best of friends. Those with wicked intentions often cause division and spread rumors, breaking even the closest of bonds. Have you ever seen a close friendship fall apart because of a false rumor? This verse warns against being the kind of person who causes division through whispers and half-truths. Verse 29. A violent man entices his neighbor and leads him in a way that is not good. Those who are aggressive or harmful can influence others to join in their destructive behavior. Peer pressure can lead people astray, like someone being encouraged by a friend to engage in risky or immoral behavior. It is important to choose friends who lead us on paths of righteousness, not destruction. Verse 30. He winks his eye to devise perverse things. He purses his lips and brings about evil. People who are up to no good often show subtle signs of their deceitful nature. Their gestures can reveal the evil intentions brewing in their hearts. Someone planning a deceitful act might appear friendly or casual, but their body language can betray their hidden motives. This verse reminds us to be discerning of those who seem to plot behind the scenes. Verse 31. The silver-haired head is a crown of glory, if it is found in the way of righteousness. Growing old is a blessing when a person has lived a life of righteousness. Gray hair symbolizes wisdom and experience gained through a long, godly life. Think of an elderly person who has lived their life with integrity and faithfulness. Their wisdom and life lessons are a crown of glory, earned through years of walking with God. Verse 32. He who is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he who rules his spirit than he who takes a city. Controlling one's temper and emotions is a greater strength than physical power or victory in battle. Self-control is a mark of true wisdom. Imagine a strong warrior who can conquer cities but loses his temper over small things. This verse tells us that the person who can master their emotions is greater than even the most powerful warrior. Verse 33. The lot is cast into the lap, but its every decision is from the Lord. Even when decisions seem random or based on chance, God is ultimately in control of the outcomes. Picture someone flipping a coin to make a decision. While the act may seem like pure chance, This verse reminds us that God oversees even the smallest details and guides outcomes according to His will. Conclusion. Proverbs 16 is a rich chapter filled with lessons about wisdom, humility, righteousness, and the sovereignty of God over our lives. It teaches us that no matter how much we plan, it is the Lord who ultimately directs our steps. The chapter emphasizes that wisdom is better than gold, understanding is more valuable than silver, and righteousness is far greater than wealth. May the good Lord bless His word in our hearts and help us to be doers of His word. In Jesus' mighty name, Amen. Kindly subscribe and turn on post notification for more prayers and Bible reading. God bless you.